Hello from the Ernest Reed Symphony Orchestra.
We've been getting to know a composer called Mélanie Bonis and would like to share some things about a piece of hers that we've been unpacking called Danse Sacrée, along with some of the story of her remarkable life. We think she is a composer whose music deserves to be more widely known. Born in Paris in 1858, she had a strict Catholic upbringing. Her parents took some persuading to allow her to begin formal music lessons, which she did at the age of 12.
She joined the Paris Conservatoire at 18, where she thrived, winning first prize for harmony. She was classmates with Claude Debussy, who would go on to be one of the world's most celebrated composers. Their teacher, Auguste Bazille, had these comments about them. For Debussy,
great talent, could work more, good in harmony, somewhat idiosyncratic, lots of initiative and vitality.
and for Mélanie Bonis,
Very talented, good musician, beautiful ideas in harmony, sight reads orchestral scores well, unfortunately too scared. I'm very satisfied with this student.
She was flourishing in an environment that, until only a few years previously, she would have been prohibited from even being a part of. Until the 1870s, women couldn't study composition or harmony at the conservatoire, only performance. She began using the pseudonym Mel, seeming aware that sexist attitudes could still get in the way of her progression as a composer. It was at this time that she became close to a fellow student, the singer and poet Amédée Landelli-Etich, who was a big supporter of her work and would become an important figure in her life.
It's from around this time that we have this lovely atmospheric portrait of a young Mélanie by Charles-Auguste Corbenot. With its soft lighting and shadows, it feels like it brings us closer to a thoughtful and innovative composer who was already developing a musical voice which would be central to her life through changing circumstances.
And her circumstances would change abruptly. Her studies were interrupted when her parents removed her from the conservatoire. Christine Géliot, Mélanie's great-granddaughter, has said she believes this was in order to prevent her from marrying Etich. They instead arranged a marriage to a wealthy industrialist 25 years her senior, who neither shared her love of music nor her deep religious faith. Albert Domonge already had 5 sons from 2 previous marriages, and together they would go on to have 3 more children. The responsibility for the children and the running of a large household would take all of Mélanie's energy, stopping her writing for nearly a decade.
During the 1890s, despite each of them being married to other people, Mélanie would regain contact and rekindle her relationship with Etich. In 1899, she gave birth to an illegitimate daughter, Madeleine. They felt that the only option was to put her up for adoption, with the 2 parents appearing on the birth certificate as godparents. This time would have a huge impact on Mélanie, forced to suppress both the truth about her relationship to her daughter and her feelings for Etich.
It was in the context of this personal turmoil that a period of great productivity began in Mélanie's writing, alongside a huge increase in the recognition of her talent. She joined the Société des Compositeurs de Musique, whose competitions drew the attention of the most renowned composers. Mélanie twice won prizes with the Société, and in 1910 became their first female board member.
The First World War puts an end to this exposure, and in the final years of her life, her music was mostly neglected. But until her death in 1937, she would continue writing both religiously inspired works and educational pieces.
The piece we're playing today, Danse Sacrée, was written in 1898, early on in this flurry of new energy.
Everything about this music feels like it is trying to welcome us in. When I play the flute solo, underneath me there's a comforting, warm bed of sound made up of instruments that blend well together. Double basses, plucked, with the quiet drums, the timpani. bowed strings. Clarinets and a French horn. On top of this, I have a long, clear, winding line that spans the range of the flute.
Along with the sound, it's also in the notes that the music feels welcoming and stable. Each note in the opening comes from the same major scale. Now, the major scale, you can hear quite a happy sounding line of notes, is a key building block of European classical music. But it's quite rare to sit for such a long time in one scale. If we look at the chords, the notes that sound together, that make up this sound underneath the flute, they're also stable, circling around 3 chords over and over again, a bit like a pop song. We call these chords 1, 4 and 5 because they're built on top of the 1st, 4th and 5th notes of the scale. By fiddling with the order of these chords, we can play so many tunes from all types of music over the top of them.
But in this piece, the slow, calm repetitions of these chords allow them to take on a sort of meditative quality, like a procession that might calmly carry on forever. It feels like it's these repetitions that transform the piece from something sumptuous and soft-edged into something with more potency, reminding us that she called it sacred dance. But the piece does not stay static forever, and in order to unpack the juiciest bit of this piece, we need to get back to our scales.
This piece begins and ends using notes from this scale. It's like a home collection of notes that, when we leave, we feel we want to come back to. Because of this, we'd say the key of the piece is F sharp major.
Now, there's a diagram called the circle of fifths, which shows how all the keys relate to each other. The major keys are on the outside, and their linked minor keys are on the inside. This circle is very useful for showing us how Melanie sends the music on a journey that builds up loads of tension just before the final release.
As we move clockwise round this circle, the keys have more and more notes raised or sharpened, and they are lowered or flattened when we go anti-clockwise. For this reason, music can feel like it brightens when it moves in this direction, and like it darkens when it goes the other way. C major is a bit like a neutral key, with no raised or lowered notes. And F sharp major, our key, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps clockwise from C major, meaning that it has 6 notes raised. We heard before how we have this very stable F sharp major home. For most of this piece, even when we leave F sharp major, we stay close by in this sharp area of the circle. But late on, she sends us further and further on a darkening path, right into the heart of the flattened keys. At the furthest point, we are in B flat minor. It feels like an elastic band has built up more and more tension the further we've moved away, wanting to pull us back home. In order to release the tension so that the piece can end, we need to get home to F sharp major. This is a lot of steps to cover if we were to brighten out of the darkness. She'd have to go round nearly the whole circle again. Instead, she uses the fact that all of these keys are in a circle. Rather than brightening, she goes another step closer into the darkness, into G flat major. As G flat is the same note as F sharp, we have in fact made it home. It's a trick of perspective, like in a picture by Escher, where in walking down a staircase, we've somehow ended up back at the top. It creates an amazing feeling at the end of the piece, as, after going further and further into darkness, we emerge back into the light. There is a big final statement of the tune. This time the first violins are allowed to join in celebration that we've made it home. We're so happy to have found out about Mélanie Bonis, and look forward to discovering more of her fantastic music. Here's the Danse Sacrée in full.